Hello, Josh George, College Football Week 5 predictions coming at you. So, we're going to start with Louisville and NC State. So, these quarterbacks, really similar stats between Plummer and Armstrong. 5 touchdowns for both, 4 interceptions for both. But the FPI gives Louisville a 63% advantage. And Louisville is on the road, and it usually gives the home team a little bit more of an advantage. For that reason, I think Louisville can go on the road and get this win. So, and of course, NC State struggled against Louisville as it was. So, Utah and Oregon State. The distributive property. If A eats B and B eats C, then A will eat C. Distributive property does not exist in college football. Utah won last week. Oregon State lost last week. And in theory, Utah should beat Oregon State. DJU had a good comeback, not quite all the way, not a massive comeback, not amazing, an almost comeback. Showed a lot of fight. Cam Rising is questionable for Utah. This Utah D-line looked the best that they did all season. But my gut says the distributive property does not exist in college football. For that reason, I have the Beavers beating the Utes. So, Georgia has to go to Auburn. Look, the D-line looked good against A&M. That's the Auburn D-line. And their best rusher for Auburn rushed for 7 yards a carry. But Kirby's got one of the best offensive and defensive lines in the SEC. Jordan Hare's going to have to really be rocking. I think they will. I think they keep it close. But Georgia's just the team to beat right now in the SEC. There's no doubt about it. For that reason, I've got the Dogs. Undefeateds face off in Austin, Texas. Kansas has beaten the Texas Longhorns 4 times total in this series. And the most recent ones are in 2016 and 2021. So it is possible in this era of college football for Kansas to beat Texas. Now that I've set that up, these teams take the over because these teams are both number 1 in offensive efficiency, number 1 and number 3 in offensive efficiency in the Big 12. So, high scoring game. Daniels and Ewers are going to air it out. Lots of big plays. And I think the secondary of Texas may get slightly exposed in this one. That is probably Texas's biggest weakness. But it's in Austin against Kansas. Texas will win this football game. Game I went back and forth and then back and forth again on. Look, both of these special teams units did not look good on Saturday. They will need to improve there if they want to win this football game. Coach Prime is at home, but Lincoln Riley is an amazing coach, and his team travels. It's going to come down to how Grinch's coverage looks for USC. Are they using an umbrella defense? Are they giving a lot of cushion? Are they creating turnovers? Is USC turning the ball over? That's really what it comes down to. If Colorado can create turnovers and get the ball to their playmakers in space and their playmakers can actually make plays, it'll come down to the wire and be a who-knows game, and maybe the crowd for Colorado wins the football game. But my gut says USC is going to find a way to win this football game. So I've got USC beating Colorado. LSU goes to Oxford to face the Rebels of Ole Miss. Look, this could be a tremendous football game, but the 247 talent composite has LSU winning this football game as they are ranked 7th in that, and Ole Miss is ranked 23rd. There is a slight talent discrepancy. It just comes down to, can Jackson Dart make a big play? Can Daniels make a big play? It's just going to be such a game, and it's just going to come another one where you might take the over because the third down offense, I think, is going to be better than these third down defenses, and these quarterbacks are going to be making plays, taking off and running when they need to. And, of course, Neighbors, Lacey, and Thomas Jr. for LSU, will these receivers be able to travel and make plays in a ruckus environment? If they can, LSU will win this football game. I'm going to predict LSU to win this football game. Now to Iowa State visiting OU. Now, a little trickle down memory lane. OU has a second-year coach. OU loses to Iowa State at home. It has happened before. It might happen again. Now, Gabriel is the biggest key. He's one of those, if there's a Heisman hype train, he's one of those guys that's not on the train, but he's bought a ticket. And the problem is 73 points against a nobody, 28 points against a decent defense, 66 points against a nobody, and then 20 points against the Cincinnati defense, who has one of the better defenses in the Big 12. Can he really show out? He needs another one of those at least 50-plus point games, maybe even in the 60s, to get himself on the hype train. OU defense looks for real. We said that after 3 games last year. Well, now through 4, they've held a Big 12 opponent to 6 points. Looked amazing in the red zone. That's the difference from last year to this year, the red zone defense. But Campbell's defense is coming for Iowa State. And that's what they're going to need to keep this game close, because I think OU will win this football game. To our group of 5, game of the week. Boise State travels to the Liberty Bowl to face the Tigers of Memphis. Look, Boise State and Memphis, really good teams. Memphis's defense held Missouri to 34 points. And against FBS opponents, Boise State is averaging only 23 points per game. So, the defense for Memphis wins this football game, and the crowd at home obviously plays a little factor in slowing down the Boise State offense as well. So I've got Memphis. Dude, this is a fun game. A fun little rivalry game. Arkansas, KJ Jefferson. And of course, we all know about the offense. It's looking better for Texas A&M. They're struggling in efficiency. They're actually 10th in the SEC in efficiency, but they're top 3 in yards per play in the SEC. A 10th in efficiency in the SEC, not good. 3rd in yards per play in the SEC, good for the A&M Aggies. But I just don't know. I think it comes down to DJ Durkin, the defensive coordinator, and his scheme to stop KJ Jefferson. If they do that, the Aggies will win. I'm going to put my points on the talented defense of the A&M finding an answer for KJ and finding a way to win this football game. The fun brand game. Nebraska goes to the big house to face the Michigan Wolverines. I think this could be an interesting game. Rule and Harbaugh, 2 coaches that I feel like are going in semi-opposite directions. Rule on his way up. Harbaugh coming off a suspension. Just, has been at the top, trying to get back to the top, with Michigan, trying to sustain his time at a school, where Rule trying to just be at a school for multiple seasons, I feel like. And Nebraska has struggled to find ways to win games, of course. And Michigan always finds a way to win some of the close games. So, Michigan beats Nebraska. So, a 4-0 team will take on a 2-2 team when Clemson goes down to Syracuse. Clemson will be the 2-2 team. Syracuse will be the 4-0 team. This game has all the potential to be a good little rivalry game, as Dino Babers has had the Tigers' number from time to time, certainly the number of Dabo Swinney. And they seem to be on a high this season. But the FPI actually favors the Qs in this game, giving them a 53% chance to win the football game. But the 247 composite has quite a wide margin for Clemson Tigers. When you look at the composite, though, you do not necessarily see a lot of stars or star depth at defensive line like they have had in the past. That is the biggest weakness of the Clemson Tigers. But the biggest strength is star power, including Cade Klubnik and, of course, Will Shipley at running back. And the biggest unsung hero for the Tigers, I think, is Jordan McFadden, an offensive lineman that they can run behind. If the offensive line does well in the dome and doesn't mess up, the Tigers win the football game and put a blemish on the 'Cuse' record. Two college game days game of the week. Notre Dame will face off at Duke. It is not the basketball game. Look, Duke has the biggest upset to date. I know that. And Freeman's defense had 3 big-time fourth down stops against Ohio State. They almost had one more stop with 3 seconds to go, and they would have won that game. Riley Leonard is a good quarterback. This D-line for Notre Dame is ferocious and unrelenting. If he gets sacked 3 times, I want to see how he reacts at that point, maybe in the 3rd or 4th quarter. And I just don't think that Duke has the speed, certainly not on defense, to contain some of these wide receivers for Notre Dame. And just short throws for Hartman. Creating short throws is going to be the key for Notre Dame winning this football game on the road. And they want to bounce back like no other. They want to have a lot more success in space than they did against Ohio State. I am Josh George. This was Week 5 college football predictions. Thank you so much for watching. How do I stop the video?